welcome to the SEO Frameworks, the podcast where we explore the building blocks of a winning SEO strategy. Whether you are an SEO professional, digital marketer, or just looking to optimize your online presence, this series is for you. I'm your host, Manuel Madeddu, and this podcast is brought to you by Oncrawl. Today's topic is SEO evangelization towards theme, which sounds like a bad word, but essentially we're going to discuss why SEO is important, ROI demonstration, and how to best educate and collaborate with other teams when it goes to SEO. And today we have a fantastic guest with us, which is Dolores McLaren. I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself, Dolores, but we've been lucky enough to be working together, before, and now we are also actually colleagues. But I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thanks, Manuel, for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure. I'm Dolores. I've been in SEO space for 15 years and only recently joined broader role. I still love SEO. SEO is my passion. I'm passionate about technology innovation. I'm also passionate about PC gaming and pets. I have 2 dogs at home, which I allow to walk and just chill with, and I do play RPG games in my spare time.
Yeah, on these topics, I mean, maybe after the podcast, because it's another topic, but I have a few questions about Baldur's Gate, because it
Yeah,
seems like it's the best game so far, but yeah. Um, after maybe.
we can catch up.
Yeah. No, yeah, to the topic. So, yeah, I know you are very passionate about SEO, and actually, when we were working together, you were working on client side, and I was actually working in an agency. But I chose you for this episode because we were specifically discussing, a right demonstration and how to best represent what SEO, what was the the impact for SEO, and what was bringing to the business. On this, I think I would start with the first question, which is, what is your number one SEO tip for ROI demonstration and why SEO evaluation is so important? So maybe we start from there.
It's important with any project, especially in SEO, it's important to show how the initiatives are going to drive revenue, whether it's going to be revenue which is directly to customer or maybe you're generating lead generation, but you need to show why it's adding value to the business because it's the best way to get investment and funds for SEO. So this is what we worked on in Vodafone. If you remember, we had a nice visualization graph at the current rate of SEO growth. What would happen if we implemented our prioritized projects, which we prioritized focused on ROI, and what would happen if we don't invest in SEO? And that was the key to actually getting business sign-off for TAAG strategy and grow the team and expand the tools and SEO function as a whole. It's really important to visualize. So when we report on SEO, it's very important to focus on keywords as well because that's what drives SEO, but also showing how it's going to impact business as a whole because whatever we do in SEO is going to touch on other channels in the business and business as a whole, whether it's awareness stage, middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel. SEO improves the customer experience across the journey. And that's super important to put across when you are communicating the value of SEO.
Yeah, I think that's the main one, Dolores. And I mean, now you don't do SEO, but as SEOs, we know it's a bit difficult to demonstrate SEO value. It's a bit like when you need to explain you need the Wi-Fi, but you don't see the Wi-Fi. You just know, the value of it when you don't have it because it touches on so many things. It's usually the basis of the marketing activity, and it has a lot of correlation, but actually it's difficult to explain because usually it needs time to build up and have an impact. And especially when you discuss also technical SEO, which is a bit trickier even. On that, what's the best way to then show SEO value? So what are the metrics you'd prioritize when demonstrating ROI, or how do you suggest, what's the best way to really show, what SEO brings to the table?
The conversions are the best metric But that only works if you are on e-commerce site or product-based site business that sells products. If you're on B2B side, then how many more leads you can generate through SEO efforts. But it's always important to add that bottom line to your visualization. Say, what would ROI be? Because we know that SEO has the best ROI across the channels. There's no media spend. Investment is in our time, developers' time. It's still not free. It's just not as expensive. And if you improve, say, landing page, product pages for SEO, it's going to be improved for all channels. So I would definitely add conversions, sales, uh, form submissions, whatever the business prioritizes as a key metric, we should focus on driving value to those metrics.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is key because essentially you are discussing to senior stakeholders
Mm.
and they don't really digest maybe understand SEO or the technicalities. All they need to understand it's money, the impact on business KPI, which is essentially money and budget. So that's the main thing. It's you should demonstrate in an easy way, in a digestible way, in a visual way, what's the impact, what's the translation of all the SEO action into the budget, into the wallets, essentially.
Yeah, precisely. Because when we want to show everything we found in a presentation, because we are so passionate about what we do, so I want everyone to see how well it's going to work and what's going to be done at each step. But senior stakeholders don't necessarily have time to look at that all, because when they are reporting, they need to report on the revenue generation. And this is where we need to focus our slides. So presentation doesn't have to have 80 slides. It can be 3 slides, top level executive summary, showing what needs to be done, high level, with key takeaways and clear visual representation on how SEO is going to impact the revenue.
Yeah, I totally agree with this, and it's funny because I usually personally, when I'm excited because we've got a strong strategy or we found clearer techniques or findings. I mean, I tend to willing to explain, but they don't care. I mean, when you explain to senior stakeholder, it's all about okay, let me know what I need to do, let me know the impact. That's it. So really, 3 slides
Yeah,
max.
yeah.
Um,
What am I getting and how long is it going to be before I get
exactly.
it? Yeah,
All the rest, if they have time, they're keen to discuss, maybe, but you know,
yeah.
they
That's why
would
we
have.
discuss it between ourselves, don't we? Everything
Exactly,
else, yeah.
exactly. Um, So based on this, how can visualization tools, so like dashboard charts, scorecards, can help to simplify complex SEO data? Because that's the challenge. SEO, you may have a lot of conversation, you may have to aggregate a lot of data, but then simplify, either in the number of slides, as we said, but also in terms of graph and data you actually present. So, what specific techniques or what your suggestion about that? Do you have any specific preferred method or anything you can suggest to simplify and then present what's needed?
I really like Google Looker Studio for visualization. It's very easy and simple to use, and you can create different dashboards for different stakeholders. So if you go to senior stakeholders and we're showing revenue, it should be a graph, uplifting revenue, how much more incremental revenue we can bring, and then reporting benchmark every month, how are we progressing? And then just key takeaways, put key takeaways, how with a percent or a number, actual number, how much we grew. They don't necessarily need to know or want to know everything that went behind achieving that number. It's just where we are and what are the next steps. Keep it very, very simple, because people are either going to read your slides or they're going to listen to you.
Yeah,
No one can focus on both. So just keeping it very simple and focusing on those metrics that matter for each stakeholder.
yeah. You also mentioned something very important, which is benchmarking and then tracking. Because yes, you may have you have the initial discussion about proving the value of the efforts and then to unlock budget essentially in most cases, but then it's a matter of demonstrating that what you said at the
Mm.
beginning, once you build the trust, it's really effective and maybe even better usually than what you were thinking. and then maintain. So if you're working in house, yeah, I mean, you demonstrate to the business that your theory, your strategy is working. But when you work in an agency, you're having the discussion with the client, you also keep the relationship going because you're working on something that's working. So meaning, our relationship, our partnership is working. So it's key.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why clients are investing in us, in our teams, because they need our expertise. So we need to show them, that's working with us is really valuable because we are supporting client teams.
Exactly. And we are not tools. So we use our brains, we adapt, and we find the best. So that's why they just need to know what we do, not the details, but then see the effects, um,
Yeah.
meaning demonstrated the ROI.
You said a really great thing there. We use our brains. I always say, person's brain is the best tool they can use. We have so many tools available, but if you don't know how to interpret the data you get, you're not gonna get the right strategy in place.
Exactly. And I would say in an era of, with the rise of AI, I mean, you may also have ways of understanding and interpreting the data, but still you as a human can bring more value. So it's about demonstrating you can be more strategical, and actually within this conversation about AI, you get there because you understand the business, you find the best way to get there rather than being a bot, essentially.
There are so many variables in play. I did
Yeah.
try using AI. I'm sure we all tried using AI just to be a bit more efficient, to save time, but you can't get 100% accurate strategy with AI.
No, but plus there is a human element. Like again, you are talking to people, so you need to empathize. You need to convince them. You need to connect with them because yes, you demonstrate and discuss AI, but they also kind of need to like you and what you say. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
they need to be comfortable working with you, and you need to build a trust, which you can't build by writing words, even without AI. If it's only in written format, you can't establish that relationship.
hmm Yeah. And I'm thinking about another challenge that usually SEO has when trying to demonstrate, value, which is essentially, as we said, SEO can be like broad and touching on the channels. So one of the struggles would be to try to demonstrate SEO value when everything is changing, or maybe you're working on a big campaign and you need to demonstrate, well, this is what SEO does, and bring it on the table. Um, how did you face it in the past, and how did you solve it when trying to demonstrate what SEO was really bringing to the table versus other channels? Meaning essential attribution, when it comes to ROI. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We had a few challenges on that in Vodafone as well, but working well with data scientists and analytics team, you can get that data. So whether it's GA4, whether it's Adobe Analytics, as long as it's web analytics and tracking all channels, you can get the data from the analytics platform and
hmm
then show how attribution works. I mean, there's no perfect attribution model. We know that at 80-90% is as good as it gets at the moment, but you can show how much of the traffic, conversions, whatever metrics you want to show, how much it came from organic search. And I would also then accompany that with Google Search Console data because that's our channel data. It's not skewed by other channels.
You should be. I agree with you because also Google doesn't make it simple for us, with the region changes, and I mean actually also EU policies, privacy, cookies policies. So the data we manage is not the full picture, but at least I think we just need to build a convincing scenario, understanding what's going on based on the data, and demonstrate to the business, hey, this is what's going on, this is the data. That's it. Then we will always have 30%, 40% of not confirmed data. Yeah.
Yeah, always, always. I work with most channels now in my current role, and there's cookie consent affects everyone. There's signal loss on all channels. I believe paid media channels are suffering even more than SEO. But
Yeah.
knowing how to interpret data and where to find data is the key. Data insights are the very powerful tool.
hmm Yeah. 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 Other challenge I'm thinking, maybe ask you, what are the challenges or pitfall you have when you have to discuss ROI in terms of SEO? with senior stakeholders, or based on your experience, actually, because you were there in your position, with challenges you had when trying to discuss this, and using an agency also, because you were
Yeah.
using people to try to get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the challenge is because with SEO, everything moves slow, and then you have so many changes with Google algorithms that come in play. But for example, you put 12-month roadmap and strategy in place because resources agreed, budget is agreed. This is not from Vodafone, this is from previous experiences. And then 3 months down the line, the business might change priorities, and your roadmap changes completely, but your revenue targets are still the same. So you need to be very clear when communicating that, at the start, what needs to happen when to achieve the goals. And you will
Yeah.
often have to amend your strategy, sometimes completely reset it to make sure you are still achieving the goal. But that's the biggest challenge. The slow implementation pace that usually happens because SEO isn't always priority. To be fair, businesses are adding more and more value to SEO in the recent years.
Mhm.
It's easier than it was 10 years ago, as you know. But it's just that slow pace of implementation because with SEO, you have to work with all stakeholders. You have to work with developers, with content, with UX. Everyone gets involved. And then the changes in the business, but also external factors, market changes, Google algorithm
Yeah.
changes. So much comes in place. If you don't stay on top of all the changes all the time, if you miss just few months, it's going to be
Yeah.
very stressful.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree, and that's why I think, I mean, it cannot be one man job, because there are so many factors you need to monitor and be aware of. Plus, as SEOs, I mean, yeah, that's the constant fight. Everything around us is changing, and we lack the ground because we make one step, but then Google updates, or maybe a technical implementation, or maybe the business is changing,
Yeah.
their goals. So as you said, yeah, everything is changing, so we need to adapt constantly and monitor when
Yeah.
we work on a strategy, as you said. So we are trying to set targets, but all around it might be moving, so we need to adapt. uh,
That's what makes SEO so interesting, right? Because
mm,
it changes so much. You constantly learn new techniques, you constantly learn new technology, because SEO is mainly technical discipline. You can't separate technical and content SEO anymore. It just goes hand in hand, same like with UX and paid search. But knowing the technology and staying ahead, educating yourself what's coming in the next 6 to 12 months
mhm.
is really important.
Yeah, yeah. And then, as you said, there is more awareness. So back in the day, I was myself having those conversations like, hey, can you add 3, 4, 10 keywords to the page for us to rank in page one? Well,
No.
now you don't get those requests, but the expectation is still a bit. I don't know. They still expect SEO to do something to then improve, like on day one, whether there is more correlation, the pace is lower, but at the same time there is more cognition and more understanding than SEO, as you said, is more technical. So because there is a higher focus on the technology, the CMS that you're using, a lot of businesses are replatforming, to use the best technology from mobile. So there is more awareness on that. You have more conversation with devs versus what you had at the beginning, of your career.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And, speaking of ROI, when you have to prove ROI from site migration, for example, we know in SEO, we are always happy if the performance doesn't go down with migration, which
Hmm.
usually happens. It's a very complex project. And then proving ROI can be also a big challenge with those projects.
Yeah, but it's work because it's the only very strong weapon you have to demonstrate, especially on migration. If you do like a risk assessment and demonstrate, well, if you stay within 10%, then your ROI should be this. If you fall down, you have a direct impact on revenue because you're losing traffic, and you really need to be very careful. And Dolores, this is another conversation, but essentially, usually when working migration, they don't really rely on SEO because they think, well, we need devs. SEO is just there to say things, but well, no, because then you have redirect, you have, navigation, you have internal links, you have other factors that actually cause you lose money. lose
Yes,
traffic and then revenue. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because it's not just SEO that suffers with migration, it's the overall user experience and
Mm.
customer experience. But the business is including SEO experts more and more in migrations. I heard recently people calling it SEO migrations rather than site migrations.
Oh,
So it's we are going in the right direction.
yeah.
I believe SEO evolved a lot over the last few years.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, as a community, I believe we've got way more article, way more events, which is, good to see. So even in terms of awareness, the business is more aware because a lot more is happening. They read online, they see around information. Um, yeah, maybe not like before, like they were scared about a Google update. Now, yes, it's happening, but let's see what's going on, rather than,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. In the past, SEO was seen more like a dark art. Yeah,
yeah,
just put
exactly.
keywords on a page and everything happens magically, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, it was more about, yeah, it was black magic or black hat SEO and tricks, rather than actually, refining and working with the devs or content writers. Um, yeah, in terms of, so we are moving in our discussion. So we started from RI, but we are moving to more try to get the business understand SEO. And we are saying, well, there is more awareness and there is more understanding of SEO, but usually, uh, I mean, from my experience, but I guess you had the same, you have the same, Dolores. You have to have conversations when it comes to reperforming or optimizing the site with the different teams about best practice, because usually the errors you see, yes, you may have technical errors or maybe they come from Google update, but usually it's something that needs to be refined in terms of a process. So SEO evangelization, or trying to explain the best process and the value of SEO, again going back to demonstrating the value, but needs to happen in terms of educating the different teams. Did you, yeah, I believe you had that at inside Vodafone, you were trying to to explain and maybe refine the processes, but yeah, from your experience, what did you see from your point of view, and what are the main challenges you had?
From my experience, it's really important to make it non-technical when you talk about SEO. It's important to show, say, to UX team why how SEO actually supports their KPIs, to developers how it supports their KPIs. So it's about SEO being supporting role across the business and showing how, if you work together, we can achieve our goals. If you don't
Hmm.
work together, then both areas might not hit the KPIs. And how it works, why we should do things. As you said, best practices, start with best practices, engage people in workshops. We had workshops in Vodafone when people from other team. It was basics, but they started understanding why it's important, to make sure that we have the right content at the right stage of the journey, why pages can't be no indexed or just canonicalized to another page. Because when that happens from technical SEO, it's much easier to show value. When something major happens, you can backtrack on data and see how much the business lost.
Exactly. Hmm.
But education needs to be constant. It's You can't hold one session or one meeting and expect people to understand everything. It needs to be constant. Needs to be ways of working. Changing the framework of the company, making sure that business understands the value of SEO and includes SEO experts in decision making. That's what we've done in Vodafone, but that's only possible if senior managers support you. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough in Vodafone to have that support.
Yeah, yeah. I remember we had those conversations. So in terms of maturity framework, so understand, essentially, if the agency, the company is mature enough to have those conversations around how to optimize. So we are, in a set level, or in the maturity journey. But then how to automate, how to integrate, SEO to the other channels, how to face innovation, because it is not about fixing metadata anymore,
Mhm.
internal links, but it's actually more about how do we react to industry changes and how can bring innovation to the table. So Google is changing. I don't know, shop reviews, is needing more schema. We've got web stories. What are we doing, for example?
Yes,
Mhm,
because if you search on Google on your phone, the first actual organic, blue link always might not even be on the first page. It can be on second page of search results. So seeing what's showing there on the first page, how can we influence that? You said web stories, we have images, we have AI overview now, and
mhm,
all these features on search can be won.
mhm,
But you need to focus on what users want. You need to focus on the information that user wants to find and give them an answer.
mhm.
There's always that debate about position zero, isn't it? Should you be there? Should you not be there? Because it might not drive a lot of clicks, but if you're not there, competitors are going to be there. So,
Yeah,
it's,
and now we've got AI reviews in the mix. So is it
mm,
worth or is not worth? I mean, you've got 7, 9% of clicks, but I mean, you're going down in terms of page depth. So yeah, we'd always have internally as SEOs those conversations, but then you need to interface with the other channels because, as you said, we need to understand what the users want, and this might come from other teams as well. Maybe it's coming from the product team, maybe it's coming from the customer support. I mean, you need, but plus different teams are also collaborating and having an impact of what's on the site usually, because they may come from different teams or different teams might be using the pages of the site in different ways. I'm thinking about the paid team and the impact of SEO implementation on also their campaign because faster page or better relevancy can literally impact on their ROI. Um, so yeah. Yeah, I think having workshops, as you said, and not just one to get them to understand SEO, but also to be checking
involved.
what's coming from the industry and then that is really key. And working together, set maybe processes, discuss together what's the best way, which might depend, business by business. So you might not have an ideal process, but you have the best process for the specific business.
Yeah, there's never a ideal process. Processes needs to be fluid as well
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of changes and stakeholders change. It's about ways of working. We had actually really good cross-channel strategy in Vodafone. I was working very closely with paid search colleague. We did have projects where we, to the point where we even sometimes forecasted PPC and SEO ROI as a whole.
Hmm.
And, business was really keen on that.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's,
I think that's a curious one because I think so. I used to do myself like I used to manage PPC campaigns and doing SEO at the same time. I was also central point for many years. So I've been doing both for different clients altogether. So, um, but we are going to have, as you said, more and more conversation for different clients where PPC and SEO are kind of seen together or must have different conversation together. Based on quality score or the best pages to be used or different things really.
yeah,
Um,
and if you want to test something quickly, with PPC, you can A/B test very quickly.
mhm.
What's gonna drive more click-through rates, for example, which title is gonna
Yes,
work better. You can do that, and then from SEO, you can help conversions for PPC channel as well if you optimize the landing page because users don't care whether they can come from paid search or organic search. They want
exactly.
the product. They want to see information about the product.
Exactly. It's also Google. I mean, it's user engagement signals, but if you have more traffic coming from paid, then by correlation, you also increase the position, most likely by correlation often, or one channel anyway influence the other. So from our side, it's good to see and be aware of the correlation. From a business perspective, yeah, how do you strategize considering both channels? But yes,
Yeah, yeah. It depends, I guess, on project by project
yeah,
basis.
yeah.
But having the data insights, like Vodafone, I had access to all paid search tools. I could get all the data, and we were working together. What's going to work best for both channels? Because a lot of competitors bid on that brand, so brand campaigns could not be switched off there.
Exactly.
But how do we make sure that organic search is also at the top for specific keywords? Because believe it or not, there are so many external websites ranking for branded terms. Or
Yeah,
when
yeah.
there's a new iPhone launch or Black Friday, how do we make sure what keywords we both target to make sure that we get as many clicks as possible from search?
hmm Yeah, I think this is maybe the final point, but I think it's really key. So in a business that's very reactive, as Vodafone was, because of the promotion, because of the other external sites also influencing your site, but being on the top of everything, being reactive, monitor everything, and A/B test to demonstrate the value of SEO actually in this mix is key. So not only working on your strategy, but once everything is working, I mean, actually we need to be to A/B test, see what's the best thing to do, be very reactive, and then try to win.
Yeah, and reporting. We had monthly report for senior stakeholders showing the value of SEO, and it was a bit more granular than you than what we spoke about in, when we started, but
Mm,
we showed what drove that revenue and what are the next steps, what are the key learnings, and that was on monthly basis. And that's how you get buy-in from business because you show them that
mhm,
there's an increase in revenue
which is always good for for them and for us also.
for everyone. Yeah,
Yeah, in terms of reputation. Yeah, thank you, Dolores. I think we had a nice conversation. I feel we can go on and on. But,
we could.
yeah, I think we cover at least all the relevant points we wanted to discuss for today's topic. And yeah, I think I hope we you enjoyed the episode and our podcast today. Speaking to the listeners as well, not only to you, Dolores. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. So before signing off, I'd like to say thank you, Dolores, again for being here and you know um, having time for us to discuss. It's always tricky when we also have to prepare for work and meetings. We all have a busy schedule, but thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you and Oncrawl for having me. It was always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, and join us again soon for another episode of SEO Frameworks. So stay tuned, and until then, stay curious and stay inspired. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dolores, for the conversation today again.
Thank you.
And
Have a good day.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.